Virgin Islands Connection.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us for USVI News. I'm Emily Matson. While there has been an enormous drop in the COVID-19 situation, cases, hospitalizations here in the USVI, there is sad news from the Government House and the VI Department of Health in connection with coronavirus. It is a reminder that even as things improve, the world is still facing COVID. Our USVI News' Aaliyah Vanek reports.
Emily, very sadly, the update from Governor Albert Bryan Jr.'s press conference was news of the 110th death due to COVID-19 in the territory. It was a 77-year-old man on St. Croix, and we certainly extend our condolences and keep his loved ones in our deepest thoughts. Right now, there are 23 active cases of COVID-19, 12 on St. Croix, 10 on St. Thomas, and 1 on St. John. Even though these numbers are low, the health commissioner shares an update on the latest COVID variant. Here's more.
A new variant, a new coronavirus variant, BA2, I'm sure that many of you are listening to what's going on in the UK, was first detected 2 months ago. It has continued to spread also in the United States. Cases stateside are predicted to increase in the next few weeks, but is not necessarily a surge as seen previously with the Omicron and as well as with the Delta. BA2 does not seem to cause more serious illness than the original Omicron variant, nor it is more resistant. Is it more resistant to vaccines or prior infections? The Department of Health will continue to monitor the cases in the USA and remain vigilant to detect the introduction of any new variants in the territory. The CDC is currently sequencing all positive cases received from the Department of Health on a weekly basis.
The health commissioner also shares that while BAZ has not been detected in the territory, it is still necessary for everyone to stay safe, social distance, and wear your mask at places where it's mandatory. USVI schools, travel ports, and healthcare facilities. In St. Thomas, Aaliyah Vanek, USVI News.
Meantime, Moderna is asking the FDA to authorize a second COVID-19 booster shot for everyone 18 years of age and older. In order to do that, the company needs an amendment of the FDA's emergency use authorization for its coronavirus vaccine. That amendment would need to follow a fourth dose for adults who've had an additional booster of any of the authorized or approved vaccines. The company says the request is based partly on recent U.S. and Israeli data following the emergence of the Omicron variant. Pfizer and BioNTech have also asked the FDA for emergency use authorization for an additional booster shot as well. The University of South Carolina Gamecocks women's basketball team is heading to the Sweet 16, and their star, Virgin Islands native Aaliyah, she keeps crushing records. The Gamecocks beat Miami 49-33 in the second round of the NCAA playoffs. During this weekend's game, Boston, who's from St. Thomas, got her 26th consecutive double-double in the big win. Aaliyah already set a new record for SEC women's basketball by recording 19 consecutive double-doubles. That is double digits in scoring and rebounds. But with 26 now, she just keeps going. Boston has set numerous records as the all-time All-American starting forward for the University of South Carolina Gamecocks. Our Aaliyah Vanek is going to be speaking with Aaliyah this week, as well as her parents in St. Thomas. So make sure you tune in to Erie News Now later this week. Hear how she feels about her and her team's success. Their next game is set for this coming Friday, so stay tuned for that, too. The U.S. House has passed the Crown Act, which bans hair-related discrimination. The bill passed Friday in a vote of 235 to 189 along party lines. The Crown in Crown Act stands for creating a respectful and open world for natural hair, with the act prohibiting discrimination based on an individual's texture or style of hair. The legislation states Black people are routinely deprived of educational and employment opportunities for wearing their hair in natural or protective hairstyles such as locks, cornrows, braids, or afros. On Friday, several Black women representatives spoke on the House floor, sharing their own experience of hair discrimination, calling the act vitally important.
There's no logical reason that anyone should be discriminated against on any level because of the texture of their hair or the style of their hair.
No more to black people being made to feel like we have to cut our locks just to get a job. This is the last time we say no more to black people being made to feel like we have to straighten our hair to be deemed professional. No more to black children being suspended from school because their hair doesn't align with their school's dress code. This is actually a thing, and we are American, and we stand up and we say no more for the last time. We are American. Black hair is not to be policed. I commend my colleagues for their work on the Crown Act.
Republicans who voted against the bill call it unnecessary and a distraction, arguing protections against hair discrimination already exist in several federal laws. So the bill now goes to the U.S. Senate. And in the meantime, in the mainland state of Massachusetts, lawmakers there have also passed the Crown Act, moving it forward on the state level. And the entire movement is all thanks to a couple of young women who stood up against discrimination.
When we saw it was unanimous, we were so excited.
Elated that the so-called Crown Act is one step closer to becoming law in Massachusetts. The bill would ban discrimination based on a person's hair texture or hairstyle.
I myself have also experienced and heard from people who say, like, yeah, I have an interview, so I have to go straighten my hair. We need to change that and make it so, no, I have an interview, I'm going to rock my braids.
The national movement was inspired by Malden twins Maya and Deanna Cook in 2017, after they decided to wear braids to school when they were just 15.
The fact that we were so young and our school still was able to treat us that badly, it stuck with us to this day. We think about it every day.
In rare fashion, the Crown Act passed the Massachusetts House unanimously Thursday and now heads to the Senate. The bill's sponsor, State Rep Stephen Altrino.
This message is to those people who have been discriminated against, whether in the workplace or in school or any setting, that it's not going to be tolerated.
Cook says the only way for people to normalize natural hairstyles is to wear it proudly.
I think it means we finally are being heard to the most complete way.
Yeah, it's a shame those girls face discrimination based on their hair, but kudos up for them for taking something negative and turning it into a positive to make a difference on the state and the federal. And in terms of the federal level, President Biden has urged lawmakers to swiftly pass the law and says he will sign it if it ends up on his desk. Now to the very latest on the war in Ukraine. Russia's deadly invasion of Ukraine is now in its fourth week and shows no signs of letting up despite several days of ceasefire talks. President Biden is preparing to take a trip overseas to discuss strategy with NATO partners as Ukraine struggles to defend its nation. Skylar Henry has the latest from Washington.
Ukraine is determined to defend the hard-hit city of Mariupol. Leaders there rejected Russia's offer to allow civilians to escape if Ukraine would surrender the port city. But time may be running out for thousands stranded in basements. We have been here for 11 days, she says. We have some food and some firewood, but in a week we'll have nothing. What should we do? Mariupol would be a significant victory for Vladimir Putin, allowing Russian forces stationed across southern Ukraine to connect with soldiers in the east.
His campaign is stalled. He's not been able to achieve the goals as rapidly that he wants to achieve as rapidly as he wants to achieve them.
Russian missiles are also pounding targets in Kyiv. At least 8 people were killed in an attack on a shopping mall, the latest violence which appears to be targeting civilians. President Biden had a call today with European leaders about the ongoing crisis, and he travels to Belgium this week to meet face-to-face with American allies. On the agenda, possible additional sanctions against Russia, more humanitarian assistance for refugees, and military aid for NATO troops near the Ukrainian border. The United Nations estimates the war has uprooted about 10 million Ukrainians. For civilians left behind, the violence is overwhelming. There are now so many bodies, volunteers are burying them wherever they can, including by the side of some roads. More than 900 civilians have been killed in the fighting, and that number is rising every day.
Such a sad situation. Celebrity couple Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis have raised some serious cash for those in Ukraine. The actors had a goal to fundraise $30 million for Kunis' home country amid Russia's invasion. More than 65,000 people donated, and on Thursday, the couple announced they exceeded their goal. Kutcher and Kunis took to social media to say the funds will provide a softer landing for so many people, and they're overwhelmed with gratitude for all the support they've received for the Ukrainian people. A look at your local forecast is straight ahead here on USVI News. Plus, some scientists have found a new way to relieve anxiety. What it is and how it works when USVI News comes right back. Scientists in England say they found a new way to relieve anxiety. They've developed a pillow that breathes when you hug it. Reporter Tina Kraus has the story from London.
When it comes to stressful situations, taking college exams ranks right up there. So the University of Bristol was the perfect setting for British researchers to test their new anti-anxiety device.
What we got them to do was a maths test. So we had them to do some sequencing of numbers, some of which were impossible. So we really ramped up the level of anxiety.
They tested more than 100 students, giving a third of them this breathing cushion to hug before the exam. Its hidden inflatable pouch simulates slow breathing.
That reduced their pre-test anxiety. So they still got anxious, but they got less anxious than if we gave them no intervention whatsoever.
Based on questionnaires, researchers found anxiety scores for cushion-hugging students were similar to those who meditated.
It just has a lovely, intuitive, simple feel to it.
Textile designer Annie Lywood helped create the calming cushion and says dementia patients also find it comforting.
Made them smile, which was lovely, and they didn't want to let go of the cushion.
And they all said, oh, I remember when my child was this size.
Testing is still in the early stages, and the pillow hasn't been tried on patients with diagnosed anxiety disorders, but researchers are hopeful.
We can use therapies, we can use pharmaceutical interventions, but they take time, they cost money, whereas a cushion is just something people intuitively interact with.
And scientists say just a quick cuddle can put anxiety to rest. Tina Kraus, CBS News, London.
Researchers hope to get the breathing cushion into stores within a year and believe hospitals and care homes will also find it useful. So the stress of the pandemic could be causing more parents to seek mental health therapy for their children. That's according to a new poll from the University of Michigan, which is based on responses from more than 1,200 parents of children ages 11 to 18 who were surveyed in October of 2021. More than a quarter of those participants say their adolescent has visited with a mental health specialist, with close to 60% of those visits happening just within the past year. Experts say the pandemic caused significant stress and social disruption for kids that likely worsened mental health disorders like depression and anxiety. Most parents say they feel they would be able to tell if their child is suffering from a mental health issue.